You know what really jiggles my giblets? Trash. Trash means different things to different people. Comes in all shapes and sizes, but that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking trash anime. That's trash anime for the uncultured. But what makes trash anime the way it is? Is it bad CGI? Is it bad pacing? Is it bad voice acting? While Hollywood is notorious for ruining source material, I mean, just look at Death Note and more recently Cowboy Bebop, anime has always been full of trash. However, there is a vast and, in my opinion, necessary distinction between kinds of trash. There's comforting trash, of the likes of Panty and Stalking, Sword Art Online, Eminence in Shadow. These shows are undoubtedly hot garbage, but we can't help but smile while we watch them because they're executed so well and revel in their own ridiculousness. On the other hand, we have objectively bad trash. X Arm, Ayakashi Triangle, Technoroid Overmind come to mind. They have few, if any, redeeming qualities and should be avoided at all costs without the proper safety equipment, or at the very least a helpful friend to put you in rehab after overdosing on trash for an entire weekend. So today we're going to focus on X Arm. I figured the best policy would be to start with the worst first, and there's nothing worse than X Arm. X Arm is what happens when a group of people who have no idea how animation works watch Ghost in the Shell for one episode and think they can do better because they've worked on movies. Let's break it down. These are the people that took a decent source, like the X Arm manga, and crafted a weapon of mass eyeball destruction. Yoshikatsu Kimura is the director and made his name directing live action works like Karate Girl and the miniseries Spotlight. Haven't heard of those, have you? Don't lie. I know you haven't. The operating words here are live and action. No animation around here. Tommy Morton was responsible for adapting the writing for the show and is probably a pseudonym because a quick Google search says that Tommy Boy here is either an old school actor born in 1926 or a Scottish bookmaker who died about a year ago. Rumor has it this was because he knew the show was so awful he didn't want any heat for it, so he used a fake name. Another key here is no animation. So Kimura is the music director and a guitar teacher who DJs at night sometimes. The closest he's gotten to any kind of studio production is when he did stunt work for the Rurouni Kenshin live action films. Still no animation. Lastly, Visual Flight is the studio that brought this monstrosity together, and their credits are long, extensive, and legendary. I told you, extensive. That's not entirely fair, because they did some work on Sekiro, but it was mostly background art and a bit of motion capture. So they're not talentless, but you wouldn't know it by watching the show. All that being said, I'm not here to tell you that you should just let your dreams be dreams. Everyone deserves a shot, and I'm all for it. But when you churn out something like this and have the audacity to say, we're declaring war on all of the sci-fi series around the world, you're basically asking to be made fun of. And that's what I'm going to do. The show starts innocently enough and has a decent enough premise. Protag over here is a whiny loser whose only character trait is a hatred of technology, so absurdly intense that just looking at a phone makes him pass out. It's utterly ridiculous, but we've all sat through worse than this. It was kind of like me when I was trying to watch this show. Immediately after this, we get introduced to one of the crowning knee jerks I had while watching this. Why is he hand drawn? Why? It's unnecessary and gross and very, very wrong. Anyhow, right after this, our protag passes by a woman being harassed and remembers a conversation he had with his brother about 10 seconds ago. He's like a goldfish, I swear to God. He musters up his 20 seconds of courage, which is only good for about 3 seconds, because he's immediately flattened by a truck in classic isekai fashion. Instead of another world, though, we fast forward 16 years, and a cool robo lady is doing flips and junk with the worst waifu impression possible, because why not? Her and her lady cop partner find our protag as a brain in a box, which is admittedly a cool design. They quickly find out that he can connect to other networks at basically any time, as long as he gets permission, because he's a wuss. And he takes over Alma, that's the Robo Lady, and they fight a weird guy who phases through walls. They get away and bring him back to the organization that deals with X-Arms, ooh, name drop, which are hinted to be tech that shouldn't exist yet. Right after this, they allow him to take over Alma's body for testing again, but this time it needs a genetic component, which involves Robo Lady kissing Lady Cop, because of course it does. It couldn't, not be that. Turns out kisses are actually a little hard to animate though, so they steamroll right through that by smushing their faces together and slapping a bright white blurb on it. Super cool. Fast forward a long and painful while later, and we get to the only halfway decent fight in the show. It's clear the team spent a while on this one because it's Robo Lady versus Robo Maid, so we're doing it for the plot, obviously. And the choreography is an absolute ass. It's still horrible, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't make you immediately want to stab your eyes out with a toothpick, which is, it's something. I'll give you that. Everything is choppy and bland and flat, and this thing looks like it was rushed for a middle school deadline instead of a budgeted studio. The audio always sounds just a little off, even when it isn't downright incongruent. The particle and environmental effects are completely stock, and the eyes, they're dead, and they stare straight ahead into some unknown abyss that's obviously sucked their souls out and in the process made it so their lips can only flap up and down instead of articulating words. There's also this strange, barely opaque smoke effect covering the bottom half of every single frame just about, and it's impossibly distracting, which is kind of a good thing when you think about it. Once again, though, it's a stock effect they just run on loop over and over again to cover up their war crimes. I mean, this show makes every mistake in the book, even ones that haven't been made in decades, even ones that shouldn't be possible. If the goal was to declare war on all the sci-fi series around the world by being so objectively bad that you put people off the genre forever, you might actually be geniuses. Look, as much as I would love to pick every episode apart in every way possible, we would be here till the heat death of the universe. So instead, I'm going to hit you with the rapid fire summary. The models are trash, the visuals are jank, the motion is non-existent and reminiscent of a toddler smashing action figures together. What's with the soulless eyes everywhere? Why are these characters hand-drawn and these ones not? You know what? This show hurts me on a deep, soulful level. I don't want anything else to do with it. Let's get out of here. I'll see you in the next one. Psst. Hey. Come here. Come here. Closer. Look, this is the part where I'm supposed to tell you to like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. But I'm going to level with you here. The truth is, I am terrified of having a real job. So please, like, comment, share, get my shit out there.